All right, guys, today we're going to talk about chainsaw safety. You know, we've had a lot of windstorms and things like that, and branches come down and we got to clean it up. And this chainsaw seems really easy, but it can be very dangerous. Now, the first thing I want to make sure is you got things adjusted right. This is a battery powered one, so I don't have to worry about gas and oil and those kind of things, but it does take bar oil. And of course, this blade right here, it needs to be adjusted correctly and sharp. But that's just the beginning. When we get into safety, it's not just wearing some safety glasses, putting some gloves on. When I'm starting out with safety glasses, I want to make sure they've got a gasket on the inside here. That gasket helps keep things coming into your eyes. So when I put these on, it makes for a much safer environment. And the next thing, hard hat with a face shield. Now, these are easily bought at any home improvement store. So get it adjusted correctly because you want it to stay on there. And then this is going to come down, and then you've got ear protection. And the ear protection is really important, especially if you've got a gas-powered chainsaw. Now, the next thing is a good pair of chaps. Now, these are meant for going over the top of your legs. These things will keep you from tearing your legs up if you get a kickback. And so they just go around the waist, and you know something? What they do is when this chainsaw grabs a hold of this fabric, it shreds up and binds up and stops the saw. So that way you don't get cut up. These are a wonderful tool to be using out there cleaning up after a storm or just doing some maintenance. But all these safety tips are really important. The other thing that I say, have a good set of tight fitting gloves. Like anything loose, it can get into the chainsaw. So if you are going to wear gloves, make sure they're really tight and well fitting because you don't want to get these things cut up as well. These are meant to protect you. If they're too loose, it's going to get in the way. Now, a little common sense and don't get above your skill level and you're going to have a great time cleaning up after that storm or trimming some trees. Ever walk down the tape aisle at your local hardware store and get overwhelmed with all the different kinds? Here's a quick guide for picking out the right tape for your project. All right, guys, today we're going to talk about the right use of the tape for the right situation. I think we're all very familiar with masking tape. It's been out forever, and now, it's kind of gotten outdated. This stuff does work for holding paper together, but you know something? That's about as good as it is. It keeps getting better and better. So I'm gonna put some down here. We all know what that looks like. The better tape is coming up with some of this new stuff. This stuff here is actually meant, if you're painting, to keep this from bleeding around the edges, because that's been always the bad part of regular masking tape. If there's any kind of a texture, that paint loves to sneak down inside of it. So we've come up with a lot better products that release a lot better. This here you can keep on the project for a week or two and it's okay. The bad part with this is after a couple days, the stickiness stays on it and now you got to clean up. So really, for painting projects, any one of these painter's tapes is a lot better. And that's kind of where the painting stops. Now we're going to get into what we've always seen, duct tape. And it has been a repair thing for generations. They say baling wire and duct tape, right? Well, the duct tape is the smart part of that. Now, you can cut this stuff with just a simple tear, no knife needed, and it works out pretty good. But again, they've come up with so much better stuff. This is some T-Rex here. This is their brute force. Now, this stuff works really well. It is much, much stronger. But the problem with it, I'm not gonna cut it at all by tearing it. So what I have to do is come down here, use a knife or a cutter. And I'm gonna go across like this. That's how strong this stuff is. Start to see, there's a big difference in materials here. But wait, there's more. We get into some of these other tapes, like T-Rex makes this stuff right here. It is a waterproof wide tape. So this stuff here is really good. I'm gonna use a knife to get this opened up. And I tell you what, if you're dealing with stuff outside this time of year, it's crazy when they put a backer on it. So this stuff here, I will peel the back off of it. And now, you've got some serious tape action going on. And you can see this stuff is super thick as well. I'm gonna cut this and get this released. That stuff is really wide, really waterproof, and it's much thicker as well. You can even get, like the flex duct tape, some of this wider stuff here, and it gets even wider for doing big things. Now, if you're putting together where you need surface area, and that's why the wider tape makes sense sometimes, because little thin tape only has a little material. So the wider you get, the more you've got for gravel to hold of big things. So when you're talking of putting a tarp together, or you're trying to get something really sealed up, this big stuff is really cool. But it's a little harder to use just because it's that wide. Now that is the widest duct tape I've used. You can start to see how well this stuff holds up. Now there is one more tape that we use on projects a lot, and that is electrical tape. You'll see this for wrapping wires. It is a vinyl tape that is really meant for wrapping around that kind of stuff. Also good as a Band-Aid sometimes. But this stuff here works really good for electrical projects, but that's really what it's meant for. All right, guys, there's some tape 101 for you. If you get the right tape, it makes that project so much easier.